Another Sunday Huddle on a Monday edition. The program, ESPN 106.3. Good afternoon, good evening, I should say, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Russo with you with Cade, Tjomsland, as always. We're at the City Play Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. It is Sunday Huddle, presented by Hard Rock Bet. Go download the app today, have some fun. Put as little as $1 and put together a parlay up to 20 legs. Increase your odds. Best news is you get $150 in bonus bets if you just put in $5. Deposit $5, get $150 in bonus bets. The Hard Rock Bet is perfect. The app is great because the interface caters to two types of players. The brand new player doesn't really know how to navigate a sports book, but also the experienced player who's looking for a lot out of their sports book. Hard Rock Bet covers both ends of the spectrum, and that's why you should get started today. Go download it today on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to hardrock.bet online to get started now. Hard Rock Bet offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus, physically present in Florida. The wager, terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling, call 1-888-MINUTE. Well, we had another golf major over the weekend as the Open over at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland took place over the weekend. And Scottie Scheffler, surprise, surprise to absolutely nobody. Scottie truly, ever since round 2 on, truly dominated the field, winning its 4th major in the process. And Scottie Scheffler, talked about during the week about how he's looking for fulfillment and he's looking for, like, what's that drive? And you almost get the sense that Scottie thinks, or, he knows he's too good, and it almost doesn't give him the scratch on his back to be as great as he is. He's looking for, all right, well, you got to be great. We know you're great. You're great almost every tournament you play. What's next? Cade Tjomsland with me. Cade, our golf aficionado of the group. Your reaction to Scottie Scheffler finishing 17 under over the 4 rounds at the Open Championship over the weekend.
I didn't even watch Colin.
Did not even watch.
I knew he was going to do it. At that point, he is.
There was no drama to that final round.
No, there wasn't. You can say the double bogey on 8 was a little bit of a hiccup, but he birdied 9, and then he went on to birdie a few more after that, and he wins by 4 strokes. I said at the beginning, after round 1, actually, that I expected the leaders to be around 10, 11 under by the end. You had a person at 13 under, a person at 12 under. Everyone else was below that. And then you got Scottie at 17 under. He's inevitable. It's like the Thanos effect at this point.
But the only thing you can compare it to is like the Tiger at the Open in 2000 when he was winning, by 10 strokes. And the thing is, Scottie comes into round 4. We all had an idea that he would probably dominate. Then he comes in and he immediately birdies 1, and then he birdies 3 of the first 5 holes. Right then and there, you're inclined to turn it off. It's cool to see him at the end, but he is so good. It's almost the Tiger effect. And I wasn't alive, I should say, for the early Tiger years, 2000 to 2000. I wasn't really a golf. I was not paying attention, but it almost feels like that he is just too good that you either got to hope he doesn't play the tournament, or you got to hope that for some reason he's just not feeling it, and this is not his tournament, which rarely happens because he's great in almost every tournament he plays. You're looking for it. It's all a matter of where is Scottie going to fall. That determines the rest of the field. Is Scottie going to be great? If he's going to be great, let's pack up our clubs and go. But if he's going to be okay, it's going to be a really close finish because Scottie's going to be there. And if Scottie's bad, then it's somebody else's for take.
Scottie is 10 of his last 11 tournaments winning the thing after leading on Sunday. If he has the lead going into Sunday, his last 11 tournaments, he's won 10 of them.
So he doesn't collapse. At
that point, what are you supposed to do? Saturday night, you're not leading, you're not winning.
Yep. And I'm not going to say it's incredible to see because Scottie's turning into a legend of golf in just the 3 years since Scottie has really just started torching the field. He has turned himself into almost like the next great golfing legend that we currently see in the past 20 years. And the weird part is you hear all these stories about Scottie's like, he's looking for, how do I, scratch that itch? Any competitive person knows you got to scratch that itch. Something's got to drive you. Something's got to be that everlasting, hold to keep you kind of focused and ready to rock and roll. And it seems like Scottie's sort of looking for that. He's winning all the majors. He's going to, once he accomplishes the slam, and then he's, maybe another Masters or 2, who knows? There's only one person. He's the 23rd golfer ever to reach the 4 major mark. He has been number one, for the better part of a year and a half, 2 years straight. And we're now all of a sudden, he's got his eyes. Is he like, there's McIlroy sitting there who has been great at the Masters. And then, he had a good tournament this weekend, but generally in and out. You don't know how good McIlroy is going to be. You got the McIlroy who's a legend sitting there. And then you got Tiger. Everybody else, I mean, you can't say it about Koepka. We haven't seen it. Speed. You can't say it about any of those guys. It's Tiger and Rory, and then Scottie. Those are like the three in terms of who is currently playing of like those greats that like the guys you could chase, right? Like, why do you get out of bed in the morning? Because you want to be better than somebody. You're trying to chase that legacy. That's where Scottie is. Scottie is chasing a unrelenting, undying, immortal legacy. That is the point in his career that he is at. It's too easy for him to win these tournaments. So because of that, what's the next step? All right, you got to just build a resume and don't crack for about 10 years, and then you'll get to Tiger. That's where we're at. That's it. That's it.
If you're Scottie, I wouldn't even think about Tiger. Tiger is so far in a league of his own.
And I think that's why Scottie says, is like, I'm not scratching that itch, because Tiger is unattainable.
I mean, if you just sheerly look at the numbers, Scottie Scheffler has been number one in the world in his career, which started really picking up in 2022. He's been number one for 147 weeks. He's actually currently on a streak of 113 weeks, which is the second most amount of consecutive weeks in a row. And I believe he's in the top 5 of total weeks at number 1. Tiger Woods was number 1 in the world between 2005 and 2014, roughly, maybe a little bit before that, for a grand total of 683 weeks, which means Scottie Scheffler needs to keep this up for another 4.5 years minimum.
And that's not even considering
this
the
type
Tiger
of
the late 1990s to the early 2000s as well.
Scottie Scheffler,
he had 2 periods where in between, like where he was the most dominant for like 300 straight weeks, and then he did it again.
Yes, it's 281 and 264. Those are his 2 separate streaks of being number 1 in the world. Tiger has 82 total wins. Scottie's only at 17 right now. So with how dominant Scottie is, he is a fourth of what Tiger was.
It's bizarre because you can't compare it. It's not fair. It's not fair to the body work that Tiger put together, but it's almost not fair to compare anybody that's playing today to doing what Scottie's doing.
No.
Without that Masters win 2 months ago, Rory was somebody who couldn't get it done in a major.
Nope.
Or at least not in 10 years. So until that point, Rory was not viewed in the same realm that Scottie wins every big tournament. He's in the mix in every big tournament. He's won 2 Masters. And the fact that he's able to do this, major or non-major, there's Rory, there's Tiger, and then there's nobody else that really holds a candle to what we're seeing consistently from Scottie Scheffler. And to your point, you're right. It's not fair to compare them to those two. That's where, and put ourselves in Scottie's shoes for a second. What is Scottie supposed to think? I'm better than everybody by a pretty substantial margin. There is nobody today playing that is as good at golf consistently as much as I am. I'm clutch. I deliver timely. I don't collapse. I don't get in my own head. I'm good with the media. I'm likable. And I show up time and time again.
Scottie Scheffler, to me, has perfected boring golf. So when you're learning golf, at least for me when I was a junior, and what coaches would tell me is learn to play boring golf. You don't want to try to make the fancy shots because those will inevitably lead to bad shots. It's put it in the fairway, it's put it on the green, and make your putts. It's supposed to be a boring game. That's Scottie Scheffler. He puts it in the fairway, he does an incredible job at putting on the green, and he makes his short putts when he has to. That's it. And the crowd's not necessarily super excited by it. I didn't even watch it on Sunday because I knew that's all he was going to do. So he's done all the winning. He knows how to play the game at the most perfected, boring level. At this point, it's what are you supposed to do next outside of chase victories and rings? It's ring chasing. It is ring chasing, but you've already done it all, so how many more can you get?
It's very bizarre because you're right. The ultimate boring brand, because he knows exactly what he has to do. He comes out in the early part of the final round yesterday at the Open, and he birdies 3 of the first 5. All right. Well, that's sort of to put everybody else to rest. All right. The only way we're getting back in this is not by catching up to him as if he falls to us. So what does Scottie do the rest of the way? Like you said, you're right. He had the double bogey on 8. He immediately responded to that to keep everybody at bay. All right, calm down. I'll give you a birdie on 9 just to ease the tension.
Oh, yeah.
And then he enters into the back 9, and he basically plays, a scratch golf the rest of the way.
Yep.
Like a par golf the rest of the way. Because he knows that, all right, they're not catching up to me. All I got to do is play safe. And it's not the most exciting brand to see the back 9 of a final round is somebody sort of just playing keep away. But that's how you win. And that's what Scottie does. And it's not like the overpowering nature and the intensity that like Tiger brought or sort of the storybookness to what Rory brought. It's just the Tim Duncan of golfers.
That is a beautiful example.
The back to the basket, always in the playoffs, always going to be around, will give you 25 and 12 very quietly, and he's not going to blow the roof off. And that's fine because he's perfected it. But to the point now of it's almost where do you go from here? You just got to develop your accolades. You got to stay out of trouble. And you just got to keep doing what you do every week and find a way to continue to be motivated for the next 5-10 years.
I understand the aspect of sorry to cut you off. I understand the aspect of like maybe winning is boring. I just hope he keeps finding joy in the game. Because golf is one of those things, one of those individual sports that you can go play by yourself and just enjoy nature, enjoy being out there. Like I'll go play golf by myself because I simply love the nature of the course, the game, the feel of the club, the shots. It's almost a spiritual aspect at that point.
It's a shutout period too. You just kind of
100%.
3-4 hours where you just kind of do your thing.
I hope he doesn't lose that because he's playing golf better than anyone has ever seen since Tiger, in my opinion, when it comes to being the consistently great player week in and week out in the biggest moments. What you don't want to lose is actually loving the sport, is actually loving what you're doing, right? You'd never want to take for granted that you have one of the greatest opportunities for not only a platform, but also just to make a living, earn a living. So many of these guys, like Colin, I don't know if you've actually seen what it takes for some of these bottom tier guys to get into these tournaments, but you have guys sleeping in their cars with their clubs in their trunks, praying they can get onto a qualifying tournament in order to just get into one of these big tournaments in order to make minimum dollar in a tournament, which means making a cut. There are so many aspects just to get to this point that I hope Scottie Scheffler doesn't necessarily take all of that for granted. Yes, winning maybe by a gazillion strokes week in and week out could be boring, but there's so much more to the game, I think, itself that I hope he doesn't lose. Because again, just like you said, where does he go from here? And does he still have the motivation to keep that winning? Do you get from listening and watching Scottie's interviews and post-game press conferences that he has that, I hate to say Mamba mentality or that Kobe mentality of I just want to win all the time, or that Jordan-esque mentality, that's all he wanted to do? Because I get the sense as not necessarily that this is just a job, but he's just doing this. I guess it's that weird middle period. Where is he at in your mind?
It's routine. It's not like he doesn't motivate himself. He doesn't like, George Karl looking at Jordan funny at a restaurant, and then all of a sudden he wants to go right after George Karl's teams for the rest of his career. It's not like that. He doesn't find ways to motivate himself, because that's what the greats have to do. Tiger did it as well. You have to find a reason to kind of invigorate yourself to get pissed off. Scottie doesn't do that. Scottie's an easygoing guy. You could go have a beer with Scottie at your local pub and it'll be completely fine. You go do that with Kobe or Jordan or Tiger, and you're going to feel bad about yourself because it's just how much they can motivate themselves and how differently they're wired.
Yeah.
Scottie's a little bit more relatable in a sense. And to add context, Cade Tjomsland, Colin, Russo, Sunday Huddle here is to what Cade is talking about in terms of the fulfillment. He said this earlier. He kind of, before the Open actually happened, before the tournament actually started, he raised questions about like the fulfillment around golf at this point. He said, quote, Scottie Scheffler, that is, quote, there's a lot of people that make it to what they thought was going to fulfill them in life. And then you get there, you get to number one in the world, and they're like, what's the point? I really do believe that, because what is the point? Why do I want to win this tournament so bad? That's something I wrestle with on a daily basis. Went on to say that golf is one of the greatest joys of my life, but does it feel my deepest wants and desires of my heart? Absolutely not. It's a career burnout moment. And I'm not saying he's burning out because you're not seeing it on the course, but mentally, spiritually, he doesn't have that very clear. And the thing is, this has nothing to do with his play because he said this and then he won the tournament and he dominated the tournament.
Yeah.
But you could see that from a psyche, he's sort of looking, what am I chasing? What am I'm number one in the world. Anybody would get numb to it when you're number one in the world for 150 weeks. Anybody would get numb to it. I've won all these majors. I don't have a direct rival tournament in and tournament out. Bryson DeChambeau is entirely too inconsistent. Nobody can hold a candle to what I'm doing on the golf course right now. And Tiger Woods is almost that deity figure that is sort of hovering over the mountain with an unattainable body of work. And dare I say, I'm not going to say I can't blame him, but I understand the perspective. I do. I understand what he is saying. Not because I don't empathize with that, but imagine that. You're so good that at a certain point, if there's nothing to chase and there's nothing to sort of protect your belt from and to protect like that championship notion from, then what? And clearly he has his family and he wants to do, and he's making plenty of money and he loves golf. But this is that moment where mentally, what all the greats do is they find reasons. Scottie needs to find that reason.
Or he doesn't.
I don't know if
he doesn't. That's the other thing, too. He could.
That's the thing. Like, it's not even, he's not taking a break. He just played and he dominated. So maybe he doesn't need it.
He could just retire. He could retire early. That is a feasible option. He just made the number somewhere around $30 million this year.
Yeah.
He could play a few more years, get his Grand Slam. I think he needs his Grand Slam. Get the Grand Slam in the next year or two at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
He could be done. He could be in that list of the what ifs.
And it's not like he doesn't love golf. I'm not getting the sense that he doesn't love golf. But when you're that level of all-time great, you have to be wired by something and motivated by something that's exterior to just winning championships. Yeah, you have to be motivated internally by something different that only you can relate to. Scottie seems to be a little bit more relatable to the average person comparatively than how the reason we idolize the Michael Jordans of the world is because nobody understands what makes Michael Jordan tick. You could hear about it, but you don't really understand it. And the same, Kobe was the same way. Brady. These guys are wired differently because they got to the highest level, the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, whatever it is. They got to the highest level and they were just ticking differently than the rest of the other professionals around them. You almost get the sense it's not Scottie. Scottie's playing to different levels, but mentally, just playing tournaments. Cade can probably go play 18 with Scottie, and it'd be a joy to play with. Cade goes to play pickup basketball with Jordan, and he's going to hate his life. You know, like that's the bottom line.
100%.
So that was just and I don't know Scottie, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this, Reed, but based on what I've read from the past couple of days, and even based on how he talked about it after winning the round, he's looking for that what's next. And that what's next, of course, is the Grand Slam. And then you just got to put it together a body of work that stands close to Tiger. Because the one thing that's true, though, is Tiger's dominance inspired a whole generation of golfers. All the guys playing today. Scottie's playing in that. Better golfers playing today. The reason Tiger was so dominant in those early 2000s is the guys who were inspired by Tiger aren't playing yet. And that's why he was able to win tournaments by 10 strokes. Scottie's playing in a very good crop of golfers right now. And he's just that much better. We wait and see what happens with Scottie Scheffler, who won his fourth major over the weekend at the Open. That's Cade Tjomsland. Colin Russo, take a time out here. We'll blind rank a couple headlines. We will do a couple blitz to book. So we're going to take a couple picks on the flip side. Stick around for it as we roll on. Sunday Huddle, presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3.
Buffoon, Orbit Topper, 19 Uber, Jailbreak, Ralph Chowder.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Sunday Huddle rolling on here on ESPN 106.3. Colin Russo with you alongside Cade Tjomsland. Missed any of the program today, go listen on our podcast format, Russo and Rizzo on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Cade Tjomsland, of course, at our City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. We're presented in part by our pals over at Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you had a car accident, truck, slip and fall, fell off your bike, my friends Mark Anajar and Glenn Levine at Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys, the type to fight for you. They don't even charge you unless you win, and they work tirelessly to get you the maximum compensation that you deserve. Let's call it like we see it. Don't settle for just any attorney. Demand Anajar and Levine today, because that's the Anajar and Levine difference. All it takes is that one phone call to change your life today. Take back control of that life. Call 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733. Well, Cade, it's time for us to have a little fun here. It's been a couple weeks since we've done it, and I think we're going to blind rank a couple of headlines here. So how this works is Cade has compiled 5 major sports headlines, and he's going to give it to me randomly in a 1 through 5 format, and it's my job to blind rank them. 1 being the most important and the biggest headline, 5 being the least. And I only get 1 at a time, so I have to put them in a good spot. All right, Kate, so take us away.
You've been cooking lately in the last few weeks when you were back here. So,
yes,
so we'll see how this one goes. I'm mixing it up a little bit. Number one for this list at least, players in the WNBA All-Star Game this weekend wore shirts saying, "Pay us what you owe us," during the pregame warmups in response to the lack of progress in the most recent collective bargaining agreement negotiations.
I'm going to put this at 3. Because I actually think it's an interesting talking point. Because a lot of the reaction after the WNBA All-Stars wore those T-shirts saying, "Pay us what you owe us," everybody goes to, well, the WNBA doesn't make any money, so why would we pay you what you owe you when the league doesn't make much money? Well, that's not what they're asking for. They're asking for a fair cut to the pie. What a CBA means is that it sets a number to the amount of revenue that is evenly distributed or not evenly distributed amongst the teams, the owners, the players, and the league versus what the actual players make in their contracts. Normally, the NBA, for example, is about a 50-50 split. The NFL is a 50-50 split. 50 goes to the player contracts and the players, and 50 goes to the leagues, the teams, and everything like that. The WNBA players, I believe they make about 10%. They make 10% of what the revenue is onto their contracts. So can you say that they're underpaid just off of that alone? Yes. Caitlin Clark the league has exploded. They've gotten 4 new teams in the span of like a year. They're selling out NBA arenas now. Are they making money yet? Maybe not, but a fair piece of the pie, yeah. They need to get more of a percentage of what the revenue actually is, because now this is just, since they're making a little bit more money and they're doing a little bit better ratings-wise and they're selling more merchandise and they're selling more tickets, they could actually ask for a bigger piece of the pie, because then the owners in the league and the actual franchises are going to leech off the exposure of the players. And the players have been the reason that the league has grown up. Not because the league has changed. It's because the players have brought some excitement to it. That's the only reason. That's the only reason it's blown up. It's not because the league has done anything different. It's not because the NBA has expanded some of its popularity onto it. No, it's because of Caitlin Clark and a smattering of other exciting young players in that league. Yeah, pay them what you owe them. Are they making money? No, but they deserve a bigger piece of the pie than the 10% that they're already slated. That's number 3.
Completely agree. Here we go for our next headline. Damian Lillard agrees to a deal with the Portland Trail Blazers for 3 years, $42 million. Lillard is set to make $70 million in this upcoming season between the Bucks and the Blazers, even though he will most likely sit the bench with an Achilles injury.
Yeah, this is going to be number 4 for me. I don't think this is that big of a story, number 1, because he's not playing, and he's not going to play for a year. And by the time he comes back, and the interesting thing about this contract, there's no trade clause. So he's got a complete no trade clause. He just wants to go back to Portland. He's sort of like kicked it off to the side a little bit on his career. Damian Lillard was desperate to get to a championship contending team, and that's how he sort of ended up on the Bucks. Requested a trade. Portland's not doing it for me. They're not putting together a championship level roster. I want to compete for titles. And I think he's sort of just kicking that to the side. He's a 36-year-old, 35-year-old now. He's a little younger than that, but he's going to be like 35 by the time he comes back. And he just signed a 3-year contract. All right, he's real. Unless you signed with Boston or you signed with teams that are going to contend that you're willing to sit a year for, Portland is not 2 years away. They're not 2 years away. You don't sign with Portland because of the championship aspirations. You sign there because that's home. And he probably is the best player in Trailblazer history outside of Bill Walton, who won them a title in 77. So you got him, Drexler, and Lillard. Those are probably those three great players that have played for that franchise. And it sort of tells me that, you know what, winning a championship's not really the highest on his mind because he just tried to win a championship in Milwaukee and he hated every second of it. So he's thinking, all right, I'm just going to go where I'm comfortable. This is going to be number 4 just because he's not playing next year and that team is nowhere near contention.
Here we go with our third headline. We just talked about it in the first segment, but Scottie Scheffler does it again with nobody surprised and not a lot of fireworks. He wins the 153rd Open Championship by 4 strokes at Royal Port Rush. Scottie has now won 11 PGA Tour events in the last year and a half, including 3 different majors, a Tour Championship, a Players Championship, and an Olympic gold medal.
This is going to be number 1. It's the most relevant, and Scottie is chasing immortality. At this point, he has leveled past just being like the best in the world by a long shot. He's way past that. Now you're chasing a Mount Rushmore level of golfer, and that is should be the thing on his mantle that keeps him up every day. And whether that can or can't, I guess remains to be seen. But now he's got to chase that everlasting Grand Slam. And then from there, he has got to find a little spot on that Mount Rushmore of golfers all time to firmly sit. That is what we're at. With Nicholas, Tiger, Gary Player, maybe, a little McIlroy. You're looking at that. That's the level of golfer he is trying to achieve. This is going to be number 1 for me.
For sure. Absolutely. Number 4, Kyle Schwarber wins the post-game home run derby at the MLB All-Star Game with a majority of the heavy hitters having already left the game.
So this is interesting. So I didn't see this live. I was in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see this. I heard about it actually when I got back. And I heard that Judge and Ohtani were out of the building by the time they even got to the swing off. It was Kyle Stowers, Schwarber, and all those guys. I mean, some people got into it. It's an interesting concept. I know it's been a rule for a couple of years, but isn't the whole idea that so you can see Judge and Ohtani do it?
Yes.
Isn't that the whole idea? So do I think it's a big deal that Schwarber, who, All-Star Weekend is basically this is his playground every year. It doesn't do a ton for me. I saw the highlights of it. I saw what it looked like towards the end. It adds a little pizzazz to it. Good for the league that they were able to add a little fun little gimmick like that. But you're there to see Judge. Imagine being a fan there. Oh, we got a swing off? Oh, sweet. Where is Ohtani? Where's Judge? That's what you want to see. You don't want to see, it's fun to see the other players, but there's 2 all-time greats playing right now. You want to see those guys. So because of that, I'm going to put this at I think I have number 5 and number 2 open.
Yes.
I'm going to put this at number 5.
All right. And lastly, Max Holloway defeats the Diamond Dustin Poirier by decision in UFC 318. It was a glorious finish to this friendly matchup's 3rd edition and to Poirier's illustrious career.
All right, I'm going to put this at number 2. I actually think I did a good job here. I like the UFC. I watched the fight a little bit because I was actually in a Peruvian airport and they had it on. Can you believe that? And but because of that, ends a good career for Poirier. It was an entertaining enough fight, but to end off somebody's career, this is going to be number 2 for me. I think this is number 2 at a good spot. He's a guy who's been people like him. He's a likable fighter, and he's had a great career. So because of that, Holloway's one of those big stars. UFC's kind of needs its stars right now. They're sort of figuring that out, but I think that from where they're at, every couple weeks they got a good card. I think this was another good one with Holloway and Poirier, and sending him off in the final round of his career. It was a good little moment between those guys. So I'm going to put that in number 2.
I'm going to be honest. I think you cooked again. I've got Scottie at
nailed that.
Scottie at 1, the Holloway Poirier number 3, I should say.
Number 2.
Third matchup between the 2 of them is number 2 on the list. Pay Us What You Owe Us for the WNBA at 3. Damian Lillard at 4. The MLB All-Star Game at 5. That's pretty darn good right there.
That's pretty good, Cade.
That's pretty darn good right there.
Good. I will sign me up for that as our blind ranking of our headlines. I mean, Cade, did you watch the All-Star game, that swing off?
Watched a little bit of the Derby. I didn't watch any of the All-Star game. I watched all the highlights afterwards. The biggest thing was, for me, actually, the most controversial thing was that our very own Theo Dorsey came onto the show, onto his show, theoretically speaking, from 2 to 4 on ESPN 106.3, and said that format of a swing off at the end of the game should be how every single MLB game ends in the regular season and the postseason and the All-Star. He said, enough with extra innings. Let's do this. And I think it's the worst idea I've ever heard in sports talk radio.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Uh-huh. So that was the more interesting part to me, is that Theo thinking it should be every time.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yep.
I don't know how somebody can be a sports fan and logically say that to themselves in the mirror. Hey, you know what would be fun if we did a slam dunk contest to finish off overtime after an NBA basketball game? What are we talking about?
CCAT and I had some words, that's for sure.
Yeah, God, the dumbest thing in the world. The dumbest thing in the actual world. But you're the ultimate for an all-star format, perfect.
That's it.
Nailed
Exactly.
No problem. And I believe it did okay in terms of ratings, and people tuned in. But I don't know what those players are doing leaving early. I mean, geez, I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference.
I do think the home run derby needs to be shorter, though. Home run derby should not be a 3-hour event, in my opinion.
I tend to agree with that. I like the format, though. They've changed it 100 times. I do like the timed format. Yep.
But there's so many breaks. They take too long in between players. It's not a 3-hour event.
In between players, they do take way too long. They do an introduction on who's pitching. They do an introduction on the player walking up. They get a couple of gimmicks of the players on the highlights. They don't need all that. It should be an hour and a half. Get it in and out. So I actually agree with you on that. Again, I didn't watch it live. I was in Peru, so I didn't see any of the All-Star festivities. Didn't sound like I missed a whole lot. But now with the deadline approaching, that seems to be sort of the focal point of what the MLB season is going to be looking like for the next week and a half, is what the deadline is going to look like. We're going to blitz the book on the flip side, and we're going to make a couple picks. Cade, what are you feeling today? You feeling a couple of MLB picks like always? A couple of MLB player props. We'll take 2 games, and then we'll have some fun with that.
For
Any
sure.
futures that you've looked at?
Not a ton. I've spoken about some futures with some other people, but we've made our bets early. I like doing the futures way out. So we've done some futures already.
We did the NFL
futures.
We're already good there.
I probably won't touch a few more futures until closer to when the seasons actually start. So I think let's save the futures for later. We should just talk about MLB in general, because the standings have gotten way wilder since the last time we spoke.
Absolutely. And we'll do a couple picks as we blitz the book on the flip side. I made a couple futures when I was in Peru, and I took a video at one of the wonders of the world, and I did some NFL futures. You'll see that on our Instagram, ESPN West Palm, coming up eventually. But that will be a fun one, too. I made some good picks, breaking down certain schedules in front of Machu Picchu, a wonder of the world. That is sports radio. That is Cade Tjomsland, Colin Russo, Sunday Huddle, taking a time out. We'll blitz the book on the flip side as we send you off onto your Monday on a Monday edition of Sunday Huddle, presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3.
Near left, H2 chip, double drag, goes, halfback balloon, dummy spot call, hard 3.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3 with Colin Russo, Cade Tjomsland. Streaming live, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, /X. Also on your radio dial at ESPN 106.3. Usually on Sundays, but now on a Monday evening today, as we're going to make a couple MLB picks in the thick of the MLB season. Buster Olney of ESPN on the MLB coverage side said that right before we get started, he said Tarek Skubal, after the 2000, who has been the best pitcher in baseball by a long shot all season long, who is on the Tigers currently, who are having a terrific season. He said Tarek Skubal is set to land $400 million around after the 2026 season when he's an unrestricted free agent. The question is whether it comes from the Yankees, Dodgers, or the Mets. And then he went on to say that Skubal grew up an A's fan. Well, the A's are not in these discussions. And Eric Chavez, who was a great player for the A's for a number of years in the early 2000s, is the Mets hitting coach. So apparently that has something to do with anything. No, I wouldn't consider the A's, despite growing up as a fan. No, I wouldn't stick with the Tigers. It's not even listed. It's the 3 usual suspects and who can actually afford to fork over $400 million for a starting pitcher. That's the problem with baseball. Pay us what you owe us is what the WNBA players put on their T-shirts. The MLB should make T-shirts saying, set limits to who can be paid what via what team. Make a salary cap. Put that on the T-shirt. They should have worn that during All-Star break over the weekend. That is a joke. How the fact that we're a year and a half out and there's only 3 teams in the sweepstakes.
Two
for
cities.
The best pitcher in baseball.
2 cities.
2 cities. Good point. 2 cities. That's a joke. That needs to change. Cade Tjomsland, Colin Russo. Let's blitz the book. Presented by Hard Rock Bet. Let's into the book, presented by Hard Rock Bet on ESPN 106.3. Cade and I are going to make a couple picks against the spread, straight up, over, under, you name it. Hard Rock Bet, go download the app today on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Go to hardrock.bet online to get started. Hard Rock's the best. Caters to both types of players. You can go get started and get just deposit $5. You get $150 in bonus bets if you deposit $5 on the app. They have a ton of promos, profit boosts. Check out the Discover page. You can see other parlays, different types of picks that other users put together themselves. And you can tag along, just a few short taps. That's how easy it is on the Hard Rock Bet app. Put together your own parlay or just go game by game like we're about to go. Try it now. It's offered by the Seminole Tribal Florida. Must be 21 plus, physically present in Florida. The wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT IT. All right, Cade. So what we're going to do today, in the thick of the MLB season, we're back from All-Star break officially. So we got a full slate of games to choose from. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 games straight up. We're going to take an over-under, and then we're going to take a player prop. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
All right, Cade, let's start with both of our straight up picks. I will start and give you my 2 to get going here. And weirdly enough, we mentioned how the Detroit Tigers are not in the Jack Flaherty discussions. Well, aren't Jack Flaherty, Tarek Skubal discussions. Tigers are playing the Pirates today on the road at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens is pitching, another player who's inevitably going to leave that franchise. And if there's one thing the Pirates can't do, it's support Paul Skeens when he's pitching. Give me the Tigers today on the road, straight up, to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. On top of that, the Yankees had a bit of an entertaining weekend with, of course, that comeback win over Atlanta a couple days ago. A weird team. They haven't been able to put everything together, but, got some offensive juice right now. They're at the Blue Jays today. The first place Blue Jays, as Michael Kay wouldn't want to admit. Sitting at 58-41, and the Yankees are 55-44. Not a traditionally great second-half team, but I'm going to take the Yankees today. Again, 2 road teams today I'm taking with Carlos Rodon on the mound. Give me the Yankees straight up and the Tigers straight up. Cade, your picks.
Good stuff. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians over the Baltimore Orioles. A terrible team in a loaded division, but I think the Guardians have something there. It's only minus 135, but then I'll go with a little bit of an underdog. Colin, I'm going with your A's. I'm going with the A's plus 105 against the Rangers. It's plus money just for them to cover the 1.5 spread that they're favored for. It's minus 1.5 for the A's, plus 1.5 for the Rangers, but the Rangers are favored outright. I expect this to go back and forth. The Rangers are sitting at 50-50, and they were my World Series pick. So is this a little bit of a personal bias pick? Yes, but I'm going with the A's.
Player prop today. Houston is playing Arizona today. Arizona's a team that is being looked at as a seller at the deadline, especially with some of their bats. And they got Zach Gallen on the mound, who has not played well this year on that side. But what am I taking today in terms of the player prop? I am taking Eugenio Suarez, the third baseman, who is probably going to be shipped out the next 10 days, who has 35 home runs already in the season. So his stock is sky high right now, and a team like the Yankees are probably going to come calling. Eugenio Suarez to hit a home run today is plus 260. He's got 4 homers in the 3 games since All-Star break, and I anticipate he hits another homer tonight. Just one. Plus 260 are those odds. Eugenio Suarez to hit a home run today. Cade?
I'm going to go with a little bit of a simpler bet. I'm going to take Kodai Senga of the Mets pitching against the Angels tonight under strikeouts of 5.5. Angels, surprisingly good team. They're coming off a win. They're 6 of their last 10. I'm going to take Senga to not necessarily struggle, but I don't think he hits 6 strikeouts tonight. Under 5.5 strikeouts at minus 120.
All right, my over-under pick for today, it's a weird one because Zach Wheeler has been absolutely outstanding But I'm going to take the under of the game. I hate taking an under usually, but they got Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies and Walker Buehler, who has not played well for the Red Sox, but the Phillies offense is very sporadic. Give me the under on the runs scored for today. Under 7.5 is that number between Boston and Philadelphia tonight with Zach Wheeler and Walker Buehler on the mound. I'll be taking the under on that one. Lock that in. Cade?
I'm going to go with an over for you. Dodgers hosting the Twins. Now, the Dodgers obviously have not played great lately. They've lost their last 3 in a row. The Twins, 5-5, mid, just about how they always are. You got Ohtani pitching tonight. For what I've seen from Ohtani, he's perfect in the first few innings, and then they pull him. And then it becomes a bowl game after that. I like a bowl game of a Dodgers-Twins game to go over that 8.5 runs, so I'll take that tonight.
That concludes our Blitz the Book, presented by Hard Rock Bet. 4 picks a piece.
Colin, can I throw a big parlay out there for you? Because I'm looking at the popular bets. I gotta just I should be taking this right now at plus 3,500. It's a 5-bet parlay of just overs 4.5 runs. 4.5 run overs for the Phillies game, or for 4.5 runs for 5 different teams. Phillies against Boston, like that. Yankees, Rays, Tigers, and Marlins. If all of those teams get 5 runs or more, it's plus 3,500. $10 gets you $350.
Good value pick. Now you just got to hope that Skeens doesn't go 8 innings, because the Tigers are not going to get 5 runs off of Skeens. But if he gets out of the game, in the 7th inning and they want to pile it on the last 2, totally doable. Other than that, I like all the other matchups. So I actually don't hate that once a bit. So that's on the Discover page.
Right on that popular bets tab right there. Yes, sir.
Check it out there on the Hard Rock Bet app. Cade, Chris Paul is signing with the Los Angeles Clippers. Going to be the oldest team in the history of the NBA, essentially. You have an initial reaction to that. It says this will be his 21st season. So a little bit of a retirement for Chris Paul as we close out the program here. Do you have an initial reaction to that?
Chris Paul, one of the most lovable players in the NBA these last 20 seasons, a great family man, a guy that you feel like you can just back no matter where he's been across the league. He won't be really a factor for that roster, but it's the right place for him to retire. It's a great tour for his final season. I'm really happy for the person, Chris Paul.
Yeah, he said it was going to be his last season, and not a lot of teams came calling in terms of who wanted Chris Paul's services. He's a great mentor. He's one of the great point guards in the history of the NBA. He's got the biggest, one of the bigger resumes for somebody who has never won an NBA title. But 21 seasons in the NBA should not go unsaid. And I guess now all looks at is how much longer LeBron is going to play, because that little foursome they had of Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and LeBron James, that banana boat crew of those best friends that played in the mid-2010s. We're all good friends. Now you get 3 of the 4 that are going to be done after this season, maybe even 4 for 4 if LeBron never inevitably decides that this is his final season. That would be one of the big surprises of the year, is because he's going to do that. He's going to say, I'm done, and I need a whole retirement tour, similar to Kobe. And I don't know if Chris Paul warrants the same type of respect, but he's had a terrific career. But LeBron would get a tribute video in every arena he played in the entire year for when and if that retirement tour actually happened.
I've got a pretty good feeling Chris Paul wanted to be in LA. I think, would you agree that was his most successful stop?
Yes, it definitely was his most successful stop. And he was a big reason the Clippers having a couple really good seasons, a little bit of Lob City. He's playing with a couple older players, Kawhi, Harden. He doesn't need to do too much, sort of like run the second unit. And him and Harden played great together when they were on Houston in 2017, 2018, when they won 66 games. So he's had success. That team is just so old. That team is so old. And fine, but that is an old crop. And now you get Norman Powell shipped out to the Miami Heat. So this is an interesting team, a smattering of older misfit toys that the Clippers are putting together. But, Chris Paul, one of the great point guards of all time, was an elite defender, the assist guy. I just thought seeing that report from Shams Charania of ESPN earlier today got me thinking about, that big what if and that retirement tour. 21 seasons in the NBA, played for a lot of teams as well. Hornets, played for the Spurs. He jumped around. Rockets,
Had a Warrior
you know,
stint there for a second too.
Warriors stint. He was going to play for the Lakers, but it got vetoed because the Hornets were ran by the NBA. They were owned by the NBA, so they vetoed that trade because they didn't want to get Chris Paul and Pau Gasol over there. But we say so long. Cade Tjomsland, Colin Russo here as we close out a Sunday Huddle Monday edition of the program presented by Hard Rock Bet. As always, we'll be back at it next week. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay focused, stay tuned for some local programming coming up tomorrow. It's been Sunday Huddle.